Good afternoon, Buffaloes Nation, Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy fans, into episode 17, season 3 of the Buffaloes podcast. I'm your host, Graham Forsyth. We're brought to you by our sponsors in Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Terrico, Movement Fitness and Performance, Elite Prospects, as well as goaltenders. Excited to get into this one today. Gordie Tumilson's going to be joining the show first off, and then we're going to have a scout that's from Czechia. He originates from there. He's currently doing a lot of work down in Denmark, and going to be really cool for you all to hear the perspective of from what he's seen from the talent down there and his path to becoming a scout. But first off, Gordie's going to join the show. We continue to drill in on recruiting, as well as we talk about the past weekend of action for the teams in the academy. For some of the teams, talked about the upcoming matchups, touched on them too for this upcoming week. Always a great talk with Gordie Tumilson, and he joins the show here next. It's Gordie Tumilson joining the show to talk about the past weekend of action for the teams in the academy, as well as we're going to continue to touch on recruitment and some other special things coming up in Pilot Mound. Gordie, we'll start off with the U17, starting off with the games. They came away with, just looking at it, two wins, 2-2 on the weekend.
Yeah.
They start off 0-2, but end off with two straight wins against Indigenous Sports Academy. Very interesting. I'm not exactly sure why Gordie isn't able to really speak. Um, well, not that he's not able to speak. Why Gordie's muted is the better word to use. I don't understand why there's no sound coming from his recording. We're going to send it to the interview with the scout, I guess, now, and we'll try to reconnect Gordie's interview later. We're gonna try to sort out that technical difficulty. But this guest coming up, he is a scout, like I mentioned in the beginning, from Czechia, all the way in Europe. But he is residing, basically doing a lot of his work right now in Denmark, really scoping out that scene. He told me I can pronounce his name like Matthew, but I believe it's pronounced Matej Sepcik would be his last name. So Matej first name, Sepcik last name, and yeah, we had a great conversation about how he got started. How him and Gordie kind of got connected and how Gordie was able to acquire him to pilot Mountain scouting team, and also we dive into the female side of the game specifically, as he's been doing a lot of scouting on that side of things down in Denmark. So hopefully we can hear some sound from Matech's interview coming up next on the Buffaloes podcast. Well, it's a scout all the way from Denmark, quite a ways away from, small town Pilot Mound and the province of Manitoba in general. It's Matej Sepcik joining this edition of the show. Matthew, first question for you would be just in terms of how you really got started with Pilot Mound. Like I said, the distance is pretty far between Pilot Mound and Denmark. So yeah, what do you mind giving our viewers a bit of a backstory on yourself?
Well, it's a crazy long story. As I'm from Czech Republic, I wanted to play hockey abroad. So I got a, I have a contact in Canada, and he recommended me Pilot Mount that I can try to go there. So I searched it up. I text Gordie. He's a goalie coach. I'm a goalie. So I texted him. He was like, "Yeah, you can come for tryout." I was like, "Okay." I was really happy, really excited, and I also tried for Team Notre Dame, also close to Pilot Mount, to like as a if things will go wrong or something. So I have like B plan.
Right.
And unfortunately, I didn't make it. I didn't make the Team Pilot Mount. So I stayed 1 year in Canada to play for the Team Notre Dame. Then I came back to Czechia, and that's where it started. In Czechia, I met a girl who played for the same team as me. I played for U20. She played for U16s. And she was really good goalie. So and she was looking to like for a team in Canada. So I was like, hey, I got a good contact. I know a sweet guy, Gordie.
Right.
Let me ask if they have a spot. So I connect with Gordie again, and unfortunately, it didn't happen. She went to a different team because of the other team was in a French part, and her parents wanted to learn French. So it was just some details why it didn't happen. But it was whatever. Gordy liked the job what I did. I tried my best, and so it's like, hey, you wanna do scout for us? And I said, hell yeah. It was my dream to do scouting. Maybe in future. It was always my dream like to be a scout, maybe after my hockey career. But the opportunity came really earlier than expected. But I'm happy for it.
Oh, I bet. And I mean, just a cool story, how, something at one point in time you feel like it is just going to be an opportunity to potentially play in North America. Gordy being able to help you get a foot into the door in the scouting world. And it's great to be able to know that you've been able to build up those connections at such an early age. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You're about as young as my second youngest cousins. So, I mean, what a way to get started at such a young age in the industry. I think that's great for yourself. Touching on that, though, in terms of just communication networking, through your time scouting so far, how huge of an element of the job that truly is, in terms of, being a positive.
Well, I just started like 1 year ago, so for now it's my first like full season of scouting. As now the main country I'm scouting in is the Denmark because now I play here, I live here. But also, I watch for players in Czechia, and now I'm starting like even trying to find more all around the Europe. And I've some, I've found many talented players in Denmark so far. It actually surprised me. There are not many scouts in Denmark, you know, it's like a small country, but the hockey here is really on rise. And I think I haven't seen a single scout so far. I mean, we are pretty hidden, right? But
Right.
still, you can kind of say if this guy's a scout or no. But I haven't seen something like that in Denmark. So yeah, advantage for me and for Pilot Mount to look for talented players here.
Oh, no doubt. Kind of an untapped market at this point, and great to know that the
Yeah.
sport, from what you're saying, and as we've seen throughout the years, has been on the rise in Denmark.
Yeah.
Could you speak about some of the challenges, I guess, in terms of scouting so far in Europe, in places like Denmark? Obviously, there's a lot of pros, but are there any challenges specifically that you found have been kind of maybe tougher to deal with compared to others through your first year?
In challenges, I mean there are less players than in Canada, you know? You don't have many players to choose from. It can be might maybe considered as like one of the challenges. But I find more as like advantages than challenges. Like what is the thing, you know, everything is close in Denmark, small country, right? In Canada, if you want to scout and like look in different teams, you have to travel, you know, 6 hours there, then 10 hours to a different team. In Denmark, it's close. I can take bus 30 minutes to another rink, then one hour to another rink. So I've seen many players, many teams, and also as I mentioned, there are many scouts here, so the players are free a lot. They are not taken, and there are some really talented players. So for me, I think there are more actually advantages, and I think that even for like Canadian teams, it can be a good thing to have like scouts in Europe because some of the European players are really looking to play in Canada, and no many scouts here.
I at least always kind of hear about there may be a bit of a different type of way Canada develops players compared to countries in Europe or even in the United States. Could you bring some insight into viewers how you feel like players from Denmark and from other places throughout Europe, or I guess specifically Denmark being the main place that you've scouted, how the style of play there can help translate to benefit into these Canadian markets for these prep school teams and anywhere else these players may end up playing?
Well, what I know from Canada, it's more like individual than like in Denmark where I play right now. But like now, I think the European hockey is more trying to copy Canada and the USA style of coaching and this stuff. Like in Denmark, like our coach for the team what I play, he's doing a really great job. He's one of the best coaches I've played for, and I can compare it now for it's similar what is in Canada, but I think what's better in Canada is still that they are more individual for the players. I think there are better facilities in Canada for the players, and also the academy. Like Pilot Mountain is academy. There are many academic teams. There are not really a lot of academies in Denmark. There is none. There's not a single academy, I believe so. And in Czechia, there are just few of them, and it's really hard to get into them so, because they're just few. So it's just for the best players from Czech Republic. So and also in Canada, you know, the players learn English. It's a huge opportunity for them in life because they are alone in Canada, and the school system is way different in Canada. Just learning in English and yeah.
Yeah, obviously some differences, right? And obviously there is a bit of a culture change compared to Europe and Canada, even though, of course, Canada is a very diverse country and has become so diverse throughout time. But what do you feel like in terms of from a scouting standpoint or just from an advising standpoint that more scouts in Europe, in your opinion, from your short time in scouting through this first year, and just your experience in playing, what you feel like should be the things that are focused on the most. You spoke about how development has kind of taken inspiration from the Canadian side now, but in terms of those other things like schooling, like transitioning over from the language side of things, is there anything you feel like maybe, scouts advisors could help players out in that aspect before they make that jump to play over in Canada? Because it is quite a change and could be quite scary for some players to take that jump, even if their goal is to get recognized in North America.
Well, I mean, a lot of actually surprised me. A lot of people in Denmark, like the young players, can speak English really well. I haven't like really seen a problem with that so far. But also when I talk to the players, because I already did a few, I already tell them like start learning English. It's gonna be a hard start because of the school. And with the hockey, it's just like there's the now there's a girl playing for U18 World Championship right now for Team Denmark, and she even asked me like what to do before she would go to Canada. Like, what do you think she should do better? And the things what scouts are like looking for is just like hockey IQ, and if the player can skate, and if the player can skate as a good hockey IQ, um the rest can be like practice, like in Pilot Mountain. All of this can be practice. And I just told her like maybe like your defenseman like work on a shooting. And I told her that. And after a month, she was shooting on me. She plays for the same team. I felt that shot. It hurt me for another 3 days. I was really surprised. And so yeah, I think it's just these things. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point you make in terms of the hockey IQ. And obviously, skating is important too. But I think that hockey IQ, you look at the players at the pro level. I know it's like the top 1%, but in the NHL, like Corey Perry, for example, he spoke about how he's felt like he's lasted at the top level for so long. He's over 40 years old now, because of his hockey IQ. So, yeah, I think that's a great point brought up that hockey IQ, it can't really be taught, but other things like the shooting, the passing, even the skating, those are things that obviously you can add on to and always be improving. But you spoke about a highly touted defenseman, a talented defenseman on the female side in Denmark. I know that Gordie last week on the show was raving about a
Yeah.
potential U15 defenseman that could be potentially coming over to Pilot Mound. I know that you may not be able to give specific names, but in terms of the future for Pilot Mound, is there any players that we could be seeing taking that jump over from Denmark over to the academy next season?
The girls' side is what I'm working with most right now because as even Gordy told me, and what I've seen, the U18, the female program didn't finish strong this year. So I'm trying now my best to help Pilot Mount to find best players as possible and move it. So yeah, there's the girl now who is playing on the U18 Female World Championship for Team Denmark. She had an assist today against Japan. Unfortunately they lost, but still, she had a good shot with the assist, and yeah, I'm looking now for few girls in Czechia, in Czech Republic, also playing in the now for the in the U18 World Championship in I think it's in USA, Minnesota, or somewhere in Canada. I'm not sure right now. It's somewhere in America.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when they come back, I have a lot of calls to do this week and next week. A lot of emails, a lot of calls. Yeah, to find the best as possible for Pildman.
Yeah, and I mean, really exciting to, well, kind of stay waiting and see who those players could be heading over from, you know, countries like Denmark as well as Czechia to help fuel specifically Pilot Mountain's U18 female prep program. Matej Sepcik, scout all the way down in Denmark, originally from Czechia, joining this edition of the show. I know it's late over there where you're at. Matthew get some rest and feel up for what's going to be a busy upcoming months for yourself, I'm sure. Thanks for taking the time today.
Thank you so much.
And Matej Sepcik, joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast, as it was great getting a chance to talk with him about what his early journey has been like so far. Of course, like you said, very young still in the scouting game. He's very young himself. I mean, he's only 18 years old at this point and had a chance to play a year in North America. Ended up, of course, finding a home on his teams back in Czechia. But yeah, great to hear too that Pilot Mound, maybe they could get a bit of a boost of talent from that area of Europe, right? From Denmark, an area that has some, yeah, I guess some good talent on the rise. If that's somewhere that a Scout and Pilot Mound is looking at and excited to see what's to come out of those findings, and for the players that end up going to Pilot Mound, pursuing that dream from Denmark, coming up here shortly. Hopefully next year for the Buffaloes, they're able to bring some of that female talent in. We're gonna try to get Gordie Tumilson back in on this edition of the Buffaloes podcast. If not, I'm gonna have to post it as a separate video. We'll first take it to a commercial break, and then hopefully the sound comes on this time around when we bring on Gordie Tumilson. You're watching the Buffaloes podcast, episode 17, season 3.
Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry upper deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store.
It's Gordie Tumilson joining the show to talk about the past weekend of action for the teams in the academy, as well as we're going to continue to touch on recruitment and some other special things coming up in Pilot Mound. Gordie, we'll start off with the U17, starting off with the games. They came away with, just looking at it, 2 wins, 2-2 on the weekend.
Yeah.
They start off 0-2, but end off with 2 straight wins against Indigenous Sports Academy. So, yeah, no idea why that has happened. That is quite strange. It starts off with sound and then goes away. I had to step away for a moment the first time it happened, and yeah, that is quite unfortunate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post that as a separate video under our videos tab. I'm going to, I guess, break down some of the games for the Buffaloes coming up here myself as we continue to roll along the sponsors and partners on the screen. Go with this one, but yeah, news that Gordie and me talked about, but this is great. Pilot Mound putting this on. It's an annual thing. Their upcoming PD Day, Girls Rural Camp. It's a girls exclusive camp, and they get to spend a full day down in Pilot Mound, Manitoba. This is open to the areas around Pilot Mound and, of course, Pilot Mound, but $95 plus GST. They also get to spend a day with Buffalo's players, which is great, as they state strong role models, which, for the Buffaloes, me and Gordie talked about it. It emphasizes that family aspect of the program that much more, and that family aspect is, of course, as I've talked about many times, and as people in the organization have alluded to, is one of the foundations, the cornerstone of who Pilot Mound is. So check out pilotmoundhockeyacademy.com if you are interested. That camp happening on January 30th, so near the end of this month. Get to know a Buffalo. Haven't posted these in a while. These are from last week. Expect on PM Buffaloes on their Instagram, on their social media pages, to be posting updated versions of these this week. But this is Aiden Kelly from the U15 program, also featuring Chadrick Scholes from the U17s, Gavin Davis from the U18s, and then goaltender Ali Adama from the U18 Prep Female Buffaloes. All of those that they've been posting this season are available on Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy's social media pages. I got these from their Instagram at PM Buffaloes. As for the upcoming weekend for the U15s, they're going to be taking on the Pembina Valley Hawks, a AAA hockey team coming up here. And yeah, for the male U15s, they weren't supposed to be playing any games until the 24th, but they want to get some games on the schedule before that, since they haven't played any games since before the break. Pembina Valley, their AAA ranking, I'm taking a look at the Manitoba U18 AAA Hockey League standings. They would sit about, let's pull it up here, 7th place, so in a playoff spot, a team that's over 500 at 18 wins this year, 11 losses, a shootout loss in there as well in their first 30 games. So yeah, should be a good test for this male U15 Buffaloes program, this prep program, who of course is looking to start off the new year the right way. As for the U17 Prep Buffalo squad, they're going to be taking on the Rink Hockey Academy squad from Winnipeg this upcoming weekend on Saturday afternoon in RHA, Winnipeg's Rink Training Center. And as for Pilot Mountain's U17s, they got things going again in their schedule this past weekend with a few games under their belt. When we take a look at the results for the Buffaloes, as they ended up going down to Saskatchewan, they played an exhibition game against the Brandon Wheat Kings, and me and Gordie's conversation talked about how it wasn't the greatest start from the Buffaloes in that game. He alluded to maybe it was a bit of the bus legs, but yeah, they got down 3-0 through the first 40 minutes. Ended up salvaging things a bit with a goal, but yeah, fell 4-1, and then losing to Prairie Hockey Academy the next day, but bouncing back well after that with 2 league wins against the Indigenous Sports Academy program, 5-3 and 4-1. Going up against RHA Winnipeg, it's always a challenge. Last time out, when these two teams faced off against each other on November 29th, it was at the Hockey for All Center, where this U17 squad came away with a 3-1 victory. They're going to need a great performance in net again, and a great performance all around, looking to build off of last weekend's 2 wins to end things off for them in their return to play against Indigenous Sports Academy. As for the female U18 Prep Buffaloes, well, this is a squad that is going to get a rematch against Balmoral Hall. They played them this past weekend and kept things close on the scoreboard. 5-3. It's the best they've fared against Balmoral Hall all season long, even though it resulted in a loss. But then the Buffaloes were able to pick up their second win of the season on Sunday in an exhibition matchup against the Central Plains Capitals, winning that one by a score of 4-1. And as for this Buffaloes female prep program, a team that I think, if they're able to put things together and come to play, lock in, play a good defensive structure, this team should have better results, could maybe potentially give the better teams a run for their money in their games, as these better teams may not be expecting this Buffaloes team to be that strong, right? Especially if they've seen them earlier on in the season. But I think, what a past weekend for the Buffaloes, being able to get back into the win column, beating a U18 female AAA team here in Manitoba by a pretty good score, a team that's been about middle of the pack in the standings in that league this year. So for Pilot Mountain, they're going to be back at home, taking on RHA Winnipeg at Blackjack Stewart Arena Friday night. Always a big rivalry between the two teams, and for Saturday, that rematch against Balmoral Hall, it's going to be in Winnipeg. And for Pilot Mountain in these games, going up against two fast teams, two teams just inside the top 10 and looking to play that structure, look to try to shut down that transition game, be opportunistic as they have been, especially in their wins, and maybe, who knows what could happen coming up this weekend. As for the male U18 Prep Buffaloes, taking on RHA Winnipeg this Friday at the Rink Training Center, 6:30 p.m. Taking a look at the past weekend for this U18 Prep male Buffalo squad. As of course, they were one of 3 teams in action. Them, the U18 female preps, and the U17 prep Buffaloes. But as for the U18s, a weekend for them where they only had one game against the Notre Dame Hounds. It was a matchup where they got off to trailing 1-0 after the first 20 minutes, tied the game up in the second period, but then 3 goals allowed in the third period as it got away from them against the Notre Dame Hounds. From what Gordie told me, it was a really close back and forth game, which it's great to know right after the break of this team was able to put up a fight against a school, like Gordie says, very similar to Pilot Mountain in terms of being in a smaller part of the country compared to places like Alberta, the British Columbias of the world. But yeah, a period where they just lacked some finish in the third. It costed them in that game. Gave up 3 goals, of course. And of course, looking to bounce back this upcoming weekend for this Buffalo squad, as mentioned, against RHA Winnipeg, a team which, the Buffaloes always motivated to beat, as talked about. This program's probably biggest rival, just given the distance between them. It's a much shorter drive to Winnipeg compared to the other places that the Buffaloes travel to here to play in their league games and tournament games. But Anthony Florentino, he'll have this squad locked in. He ended up winning Coach of the Month back in December, which was great to see. And yeah, for Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, this U18 group has improved year in and year out. And one of the key aspects of this team, as they've been building, is just that resiliency and being able to bounce back at a high level. We'll see if they can do that this weekend coming up against RHA Winnipeg. By the way, that game can be caught on Flow Sports. Same with the female U18 Prep Buffaloes. Same with the U17 Prep Buffaloes. And then Live Barn and Flow Sports will be the home for this weekend's action and the coverage for Pembina Valley, the Hawks U15 AAA team, taking on the male U15 Prep Buffaloes. And hold up, I was thinking a age group higher for the U15s. Apologies here. Just got to take a look at this AAA Hawks U15 team. Because, yeah, I looked at the male U18 AAA stats. Yeah, let's just take a look here. Hockey Winnipeg, haven't visited this site in so long, but here we are. This Hawks team, very good. 12-5-3 to start off the year. They're third in the West Division. It's the West, Central, and East Division, 3 different divisions in the Winnipeg's AAA Hockey League. And as for the Hawks, it's a group this year that has put up 86 goals for, 61 goals against. So yeah, a team that is top 3, a team that's been quality within their own league. But I'll finish off with saying this, I guess, about the U15s to keep things a bit shorter, since I've already talked about them. Even if that Hawks team was at that 18-11-1 record like I talked about the U18 squad. For this U15 squad, I think that's still going to be a good test for this Buffaloes squad, and I think that, yeah, they're 2 winnable games for the Buffaloes. It's a chance for them to prove CSSHL reigns supreme maybe here in Manitoba in their minds, and yeah, looking forward to seeing how this team will fare. Should be some fast hockey, some physical hockey, and maybe for the Buffaloes it could be a chance for them to build some confidence heading into the upcoming league games that they'll be playing in this month. We are going to throw it to one final commercial break, and then I'll be back here to give you some final words on this edition of the Buffaloes podcast.
Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store.
Well, you've made it to the end of this edition of the Buffaloes podcast. This has been episode 17, season 3. I've been your host, Graham, the gshow Forsyth. Special thanks to Matej Sepcik and Gordie Tumilson for joining the show. Well, Gordie joined us for about 30 seconds or so before the sound cut out. As mentioned, we're going to get that segment sorted out and posted as an individual clip under our video section coming up shortly here on our YouTube channel. But thank you so much for tuning in if you did to this one, Buffaloes fans. If you've been watching, we appreciate your support and for you to continue tuning in here. As for those that are new here to the Buffaloes podcast, this may be your first time watching. Maybe you've watched before and this is your first time watching in a while. Whatever the case may be, maybe consider subscribing, turn on notifications so you don't miss any future uploads. If you were a fan of this podcast today, we post every Wednesday, usually in the afternoon, sometimes in the evenings, depending on how crazy our weeks get. But yeah, if you turn on notifications, subscribe, you won't miss any future uploads, and you'll also get notifications about our other podcasts and other content that we post here, which we're going to start posting a lot of games that we have archived from our Uscreen service for you to check out for free at this point, and maybe that may lead you to checking out our Uscreen coverage moving forward, as we're going to be getting into playoffs here before we know it in the female side of things, the high school side of things, MMJHL playoffs coming up in March. I know it's only January, but times are about to get busy here over at G-Show Productions, not like they weren't already. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in today, everybody. Also, a special thanks to Pilot Mountain sponsors and partners, and to our sponsors here at G-Show Productions, Interico, Movement Fitness and Performance, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Elite Prospects, and Gordie Tumilson's brand in goaltenders, as you just saw on the screen. Juno Award winner and Tyson Unruh is going to leave us off with his March of the Buffaloes theme song. I've been your host, Graham, the G-Show Forsyth, saying peace out and waving so long, Buffaloes Nation. Until a week from now, 7 days from now, we'll see you again.